Back in January, I posted 31 days of beginner cycling tips on my YouTube shorts, and I got a number of comments on those videos about how some of the cycling terms are quite confusing. And that is true, because I remember when I started out cycling, there was a lot that confused me about it. And so to answer some of those questions on my YouTube shorts and to redeem myself and sort of demystify some of cycling's most confusing terms, here is my explanation of my top 40 most confusing things in cycling. So first up, bonk. When a cyclist runs out of energy having depleted glycogen stores and having not refueled properly mid-ride. This is also known as hitting the wall. Cadence, the number of times you complete a full spin of the pedals while you cycle, expressed as RPM or revolutions per minute. Chapeau, a French term literally meaning hat, which is used to show respect to another cyclist for a strong ride or achievement. It's a shortened and spoken form of literally doffing your cap to someone. Holding the wheel. This means sticking closely behind another rider in front to get the effects from drafting. Drafting, riding closely behind another cyclist to reduce wind resistance and save energy. Wheel sucker, when a rider stays in the draft of others for far too long without taking a turn at the front themselves to pull the group along. Nobody likes a wheel sucker. Don't be that guy. Drop or dropped is to leave another rider behind or getting left behind yourself by an increase in speed, often in a race or on a climb. For example, I just got dropped on that last hill. That happens to me a lot, unfortunately. Half-wheeling. This happens when a rider consistently keeps their front wheel slightly ahead of their riding partners, subtly forcing their partner to speed up. No one, again, likes a half-wheeler, so don't be that person either. FTP, or functional threshold power. The maximum power, measured in watts, that a cyclist can sustain for an hour. This is an indicator of how strong you are on the bike. Watts per kilogram or watts per kilo. It's a key metric in cycling performance, dividing a rider's power output, measured in watts, by their body weight. Heavier riders are generally able to put out more power than lighter ones, so watts per kilo is a fairer measurer of power output by weight. Bottom bracket, the component that connects the crankset to the bike frame and allows the pedals to rotate smoothly, usually referred to by its abbreviation BB. Crankset, the chain rings and pedal arms used to pedal the bike along. 1x or 2x relates to the amount of chain rings you have on the crank. Chain ring, the toothed rings attached to the pedal arms at the front of the bike. Mountain bikes and some gravel bikes will tend to have just one, whereas road bikes will most usually have 2 chain rings, although you can get all kinds of bikes with different setups. Older or cheaper bikes may also have 3 chain rings. Larger chain rings with more teeth make pedaling harder but faster. Mech. This refers to either the front or rear derailleurs on the bike. Derailleur. The mechanisms that move the chain between gears on the cassette at the back or the chain rings at the front. Cassette. The set of cogs or gears on the rear wheel that work with the chain and derailleur to make pedaling easier or harder. Tubeless. A type of tyre setup that doesn't require an inner tube but instead uses a special glue inside the tyre to seal up holes, reducing the risk of a flat tyre. Clipless pedals. Despite the name, these pedals are the type you clip into, using cleats on cycling shoes. In the old days, you had a cage fitted to the pedals that you would slip your shoe into, and these cages were known as toe clips. So when the newer cleat technology was introduced, they became known as clipless. Yeah, I know, doesn't make sense. Mechanical, a broad term for any bike-related mechanical issue during a ride. Could be anything from a loose cable to a completely snapped chain. Bike fit, the process of adjusting a bike's saddle, handlebars and cleats for optimal comfort and performance. This is usually best performed by a professional bike fitter who will take into account your individual physiology, but you can perform a basic bike fit at home by yourself. Brake hoods, the raised rubber coverings on road bike levers where riders often rest their hands. Tops, the inner part of a road bike handlebar generally used when climbing a hill when little to no steering effort is needed. Drops, the lower curved part of a road bike handlebar used when sprinting or getting aero. Aero, short for aerodynamic and refers to the riding position, bike design or gear that reduces wind resistance. Chainstay, the part of the frame running parallel to the chain, connecting the rear wheel to the bottom bracket. Seat stay, the part of the frame running from the axle of the rear wheel to just under the saddle. Together with the chainstay and seat tube, this makes up what's known as the rear triangle. Freewheel, an older technology where cogs on the rear wheel contain all the parts that make them spin, and this screws on to the wheel. Free hub is newer technology that does the same as the freewheel, but the mechanism known as a hub is part of the rear wheel. This is then fitted with the cassette, which has no moving parts itself. Internal routing, when cables or hoses are routed inside the frame for a cleaner look and better aerodynamics. Prester valve, a narrow, high-pressure valve commonly used on road and high-end mountain bikes. Schrader valve, a wider tyre valve commonly found on older or cheaper mountain bikes. They're also the same as the ones you find on car tyres. QR or quick release. This is an older lever system used to quickly remove wheels, which has been replaced by through axle, which is a newer solution to fixing wheels to a bike that makes them more secure and stiffer. Bidon, the water bottle that you carry on your bike, from the French word for can. Group set. This is all of the components on your bike relating to its movement. So we're talking brake shifters, front and rear derailleur, crankset, cassette, brake calipers and chain, and sometimes the bottom bracket as well. Bibs. Cycling clothing for your legs with built-in shoulder straps for better comfort and fit. They come as either bib tights or bib shorts. Dropouts. The slots on the bike frame and fork where the wheels slot into. Bike computer, a device mounted on the handlebars that tracks speed, distance, heart rate, power output and other metrics. And finally, a big no-no in cycling, cross-chaining, which is when you use extreme gear combinations on a bike, such as the biggest chainring at the front with the biggest cog at the back, or the small chainring at the front with the smallest cog at the back, causing the chain to be bent or twisted at an awkward angle. You should try to avoid this as much as possible to reduce wear or damage to your chain or components. So there you go, that is a very quick rundown of some of the cycling terms that confused me at the beginning. But have you got any others, or was there anything that had you scratching your head when you first got into cycling? Drop them in the comments below, as you might just help someone else out with one that I've missed. But otherwise, I hope this demystified cycling a little more and that you found it useful and interesting. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.